back at it with the recipe for Escovitch fish. As a kid growing up on Flatbush in Brooklyn, when I had a few dollars in my pocket, one of my favorite things to buy was Escovitch fish and Festival from one of the local Jamaican restaurants. With my parents being from the Caribbean, rice and peas and fried fish were staples in my house, but I prefer for my fish to be unbattered, which in part drew me to Escovitch fish. In the traditional dish, the fish is fried with maybe just a dusting of flour, after which it soaks in a tangy and spicy pickling liquid with vegetables. But my dislike of breaded and fried foods resulted in this version, which sees the seasoned fish roasted in a blazing hot oven. For Escovitch fish, I like to use snapper, or in this case, I'm using porgy. I got it from the fishmonger. The way I like to have them prepare it is just to cut down the middle, take out the innards. They remove like the scales and fins, but they leave the tail fin on. They just like cut it down a little bit, but otherwise leave it whole. I know some people are uncomfortable with like the fish remaining whole as far as having the head on it. Doesn't bother me. It's how I'm used to eating fish, but if it bothers you, you can certainly have them remove the head. The way that I wash fish is I pretty much coat it with salt and then also squeeze over a lot of lemon juice, or you could use lime as well. So fresh fish shouldn't smell bad, but it has a scent to it, which we refer to as being rank. And washing fish with salt and some kind of citrus tends to cut down on that smell. So you take the lemon, obviously a lemon that you've cut in half, squeeze the juice over the outside, also squeeze it on the inside of the fish, and you can actually take the halves of the lemon and rub it over the outside and the inside of the fish. Sit for a bit in the lemon juice and salt. I then rinse it off because lemon juice can start to cook the fish. The way that I season it is I just put over a bit of my blended seasoning, which is like onion, garlic, other aromatics. And in this case, I put just a little bit of pepper in it and just rub it over. You can certainly leave that out. And I further season it with seasoning salt, black pepper, some more lemon juice, a bit of paprika. All you do at that point is you then take your hands and just mix it all together, but just really helping to fully coat the outside of the fish, but also importantly taking care to season the inside of the fish. In this case, I've cut some slits into the body of the fish on the outside, and that's really just to help the seasoning just soak into the fish even more. Now, for actually cooking the Escovitch fish, I typically make it in the oven. If the weather's nice, I might put it on the grill. Like I said, I don't like the fish fried. Now, if someone else makes it and they fry it, I'll eat it, but it's just not my preferred method for cooking fish. So I've allowed the fish to sit for a bit of time in the seasoning. And as you can see, it has like the slits on the sides, which really just helps the seasoning soak into the fish even more. It's just going to give it all the more flavor. And all I've done here is I have just a baking sheet, which I've lined with a bit of foil, greased with some oil to prevent the fish from sticking, and it's going to go into a hot oven. I would recommend, depending on your oven, about 400 to 450 degrees. The reason being, you want it cooking hot and fast, not low and slow. So the dish is known as Escovitch fish in Jamaica, but it actually comes from Spain, where it is referred to as escovitch. Or if you think of ceviche, seafood that is mixed with onions and other vegetables and then marinated in citrus, which cooks the fish. In this case, with Jamaican Escovitch fish, you cook the fish and then create a pickle with vegetables that are then poured over the fish. In this case, I am using carrots and onions, which is typically what I've seen used in Jamaica. If you want, you can certainly use peppers as well, which is a little bit more Spanish. But what you want to do is not cut the vegetables too thick or too thin. In this case, for the carrots, I'm using a vegetable peeler to kind of make ribbons of the carrots. I've gone ahead and peeled the outside of it, and I'm just creating somewhat thickish ribbons. The reason that you don't want it to be too thick is that you want it to be able to absorb the pickling liquid. If it's too thick, it won't. So don't cut the carrots into rounds. Here I have my carrots. The onions, I just cut into rounds and then separate them. And you want a fair amount of this because the vegetables, you'd be surprised, but they actually add a lot of flavor. They really do help to make a difference in the dish, right? The fish is certainly featured here, but the vegetables in combination with the fish is really what makes the dish. In Spanish cooking, the sauce is more citrus based. In Jamaican cooking, it's vinegar. So in this case, I have a pot to which I'm just adding some vinegar, plain old white vinegar, nothing fancy. To that, I'm going to add a bit of sugar. The reason you want to have balance here. So the acidity of the vinegar, but then in combination with just a bit of sugar. And I'm doing this over heat because you want to be able to combine this to really blend the flavors together, to melt that sugar, get it to nicely combine with the vinegar. To the pot, I'm also going to add just a little bit of salt. Escovitch fish is generally a little bit spicy. I like to use garlic chili sauce because I like the flavor of it. In Jamaica, they would use Scotch bonnet peppers. You can use whatever kind of pepper or pepper sauce you prefer, or if you don't like spice, you can go ahead and just leave it out completely. And all I'm doing right now is I have the fire on and I'm just taking a spoon and just stirring this together because you want to melt the sugar, you want to combine the vinegar, the spice, so like all of those flavors just nicely mix together. Really simple. Now let it heat, but you don't need it to boil. Really what you're trying to do here is just to melt the sugar so that you can combine these ingredients together. To be clear, the sugar is not intended to make this sweet. It's really just meant to balance out the acidity of the vinegar. Now, once your sauce is ready, go ahead and add your onions and carrots. To be clear, we're not cooking this to make them mushy. You don't really want to cook them fully through. You still want them to have a little bit of texture to them. The carrots should still have just, not necessarily a crunch, but it shouldn't be like mushy. The onions shouldn't be mushy. They should have a bit of texture to them. Now, as the vegetables simmer, you can go ahead and just add some allspice, which is also known as pimento berries. Not much, I don't really measure this as far as like teaspoons and stuff. I just pour a bit of it into my hand and then throw it into the pot. Give it a nice little stir and you're good to go. Of bringing the two parts of the dish together, the fish, the vegetables, and the liquid. What I would recommend is using a deep Pyrex dish. Place the fish in the bottom, you just pour the vegetables and the liquid over and allow it to sit. You want to make sure that it's deep enough where the fish can be, as best as possible, submerged in the liquid so that it can absorb that flavor. We typically don't cook fish for Sunday because we make like something fancier for Sunday dinner. This is one of the few fish dishes that, in our house at least, is acceptable for Sunday dinner, and it actually works out quite well. Because the fish benefits from sitting in this liquid, you can make it early in the day and then allow it to sit and just soak up that flavor until you're ready to eat in the evening, or even you can make it like the day before. So you make this on a Saturday or something like that, or whatever day it is that you're making it. You make it the day before, let it sit, soak up that flavor, and it's just going to get even better with time. And from there, you plate it up with a bit of rice and peas, a nice simple salad or some vegetables, and you're good to go. Now, take care that when you serve the fish, that you put some of the vegetables over the fish. You can even spoon over a bit of the liquid onto the fish. It's just really the combination of the savoriness of the fish with the slight crunch of the vegetables, and then this nicely complex acidic sauce. It just all comes together for a really, really nice dish. Like I said, you can do porgy or red snapper. Those are my two favorites. I know that in Jamaica, I think like they use kingfish as well. You can use small whole fishes, but you can also, depending on the type of fish, use like steaks of fish. Really up to you. You can fry it, roast it like I did. Grilling is a great option as well. It's like you can make little variations and adjustments and make it a dish all your own. With that, this is my recipe for Escovitch fish, one of my favorite fish dishes. Thanks for tuning in. To ensure you don't miss any episodes, subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell, and check out my cooking at home playlist. Go ahead and click that thumbs up button if you like what you saw, and go ahead and share it on social media.